So Karen asked me to elaborate on, what's the difference between a nip and a bite. And it really is kind of a joke that Sue Sternberg said once, and she asked, what's the difference? And we're all like, people were saying all the things like, nip isn't very hard and a bite is, and, all of that. I mean, her answer was denial, which is kind of funny. But the reason I brought it up, there are some lines that I wouldn't let a person cross. Like, people can't physically grab me. They can't get in my space and yell at me. There are lots of things I don't allow people to do. And the same is true for dogs. Like, I would not tolerate a dog running in front of me and barking in that kind of, I don't know, screaming kind of vibe that's just like, nah, 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 nah. I wouldn't, I wouldn't let a person do it. And for me, who knows, my next dog might do it, but I don't think my dog will be doing it, for long, because I think it's okay to draw the line with a dog and to say, hey, you don't get to be a jerk to me. I mean, I give you all this basic respect, and when you're yelling at me, versus, I don't know, I think it's appropriate to let the dogs know that, that is kind of abusive. Like the dog I was seeing at the trial, I thought, gosh, that looks like abuse. And, it was kind of, I had a hard time watching it. I was like so pissed off, thinking, how is this woman allowing this dog to be so obnoxious? And, we ended up having a talk about it. And I think she kind of shifted her perspective on that. That's just not this thing the dog does, because when she's late with her handling, that's the story, right? If I wasn't late with my handling, if I wasn't so slow, if I wasn't this, if I wasn't that, my dog would never do that. And my dog never does it anywhere except for at trials. And which is all these stories we tell ourselves, which aren't even necessarily true. Because once I dug in with this woman, and I said, look for teeny tiny bits of this in your dog's day-to-day life, and I think you will find it. And when you can find it in very small doses, you have a better possibility of interrupting it and, changing that whole chain of events. And then she started getting a bit more honest. And she said, oh, we have huge problems in herding, and I have to take the sheep away from my dog because she gets like this with the sheep. And so I'm sure this dog is doing this in every sport that they do together, just to varying degrees. So where was I going with this? The nip and the bite. Yeah, those are the external expressions. And, I guess it's better to have a nipper than a biter. But, the nipping, I don't know. I guess I don't think my dog putting her or his teeth on me intentionally is okay. I don't know. Yeah, it's that simple. Occasionally a tooth will graze my hand, as we're engaging. I don't consider that a problem. But yeah, I think a lot of women, we are too polite, and we've gotten into the habit of tolerating inappropriate behavior from our dogs. I mean, I've seen the most passive, kind, sweet women with asshole dogs. And it's like almost like abusive relationships. So I'm not saying anybody in this group has that, because I haven't seen anything that looks like that. But I saw it at this trial, and I've seen it at other. Oh, I think I just, my Wi-Fi might be fading. So if we fade, I'll pick this up in the next call. But let me just go through my last things. So in terms of keeping a dog in under this threshold where they start becoming frustrated, and it expresses as barking and all of that obnoxiousness. So Charlotte's saying grabbing food or gentle taking food. Absolutely. So, and that is why this giving food thing that's the beginning of ocean, that doing it in your kitchen, bringing that kitchen style feeding. So we're bringing mental, emotional, giving, taking, or giving, giving mental state to our dogs. We're saying we're doing the same thing in training, which should evoke the same kind of mindset that we're getting away from training. And this is why, Ocean starts there and adds on top of that. It doesn't go, okay, now we're done with the giving of the food. Now we're going to move on to the touch. Now we're done with the touch. We're moving on to the next. It's like, no, each of these things, we're adding more elements. And all these things are coming along and growing together. And they're all intended to help us stay mentally, emotionally connected to our dogs. It's just been driving home on this trip like never before. And thinking in terms of this Mark Bucket training as not about the prop, and maybe not even about the Rin Tin Tin pose so much as about the pause and what exactly you want to mark on that pause. And you're acknowledging the second foot that hits, good dog, yeah, calm, of course you can do this, you're a good dog, yeah. But then you're noticing, if your dog is starting to get over aroused, during that pause, you're connecting mentally and emotionally, and your dog should return that favor. And if they're a little bit too high, they may need a moment or two, but if you're connected, you're going to notice it. So what is the dog learning? It's learning to arousal up, and the dog is learning to bring their own arousal back into a really nice working state. This is the key to a dog learning to self-regulate. And the Mark Buckets make it easy because they create the pause that allows us to shift from being external trainers and, doing the handling and, making sure the dog is performing the criteria and all that, brings us back to an emotional, mental connection to our dogs. And they get used to it, returning that. And before you know it, an instantaneous pause is going to automatically bring you and your dog right back to a connected state. So whenever the disconnect happens, you can reconnect. And I really hope that some of the stories I've shared, will, give you an opportunity to reflect on some of the stories that you've been telling yourself about your dogs and, what your real issues are, like, whatever your dog does when they disconnect, and to really step back and look at the moment before and to start really keying into your own intuition. So when your dog has, when you realize you just lied to your dog on course, you make this mental note like, oh, my dog actually didn't know we were turning, and ooh, kind of a hard landing. And you make a mental note going, whoopsie, one problem, that was my fault, and acknowledge it. And then if something starts going wrong, you then know that little bit of a disconnect, that lie that your dog wasn't expecting because you normally don't do it, you've made a mental note of it, and then everything makes sense versus, I don't know why my dog just ran off and did blah, blah, blah. You'll actually know why, that you had, like I had, 3 lies in a row. So resetting those pauses that allows you to reset your dog's mental state when things have really spun out of control. And, if you're at a trial, you have your 60 seconds in the ring. And if something has gone terribly wrong, and it may seem like eternity, if it's just 5 seconds of re-engaging with your dog, waiting for the slight mental shift. It doesn't have to be all the way back to the perfect mental shift. Slight shift back in the right direction, and then go on. And you're also then supporting your dog on self-regulating. So you're saying, yeah, everything just went to shit, like I was a terrible handler, and the course sucked, and the blah, blah, blah happened, and then the timer table fell over and made a big bang. All that stuff happened. But then your dog, again, you're teaching your dog that all that stuff can happen, and we can come down to earth a little bit together, and I'm the one to help you. So, to me, this is it. This is the core of Ocean. This is the core of, I think, all successful animal-human interactions, whether it's dogs, horses, probably even turtles. I don't know. I have not trained a turtle. I'll have to get back to you on that. And this also makes me really think about these continuous training loops. What is it that these dogs are doing when they're throwing a cookie to get the dog back to the beginning? You're doing teeter, cookie, cookie, teeter, cookie, cookie, teeter, cookie, cookie, versus teeter, release, mark, send to another mark, teeter, release, mark, send to another mark. my feeling is strongly that creating those slight pauses between every rep solidifies the learning that's taking place on that teeter versus just frenetic running. So when to withhold rewards, I talked about that, and when not to. I think that the shades of gray, thinking about these external rewards as icing on the cake, and that the whole reward chain, when you're consistent about using praise and engagement with you as part of the reward, it gives you a whole bunch of gray areas to give your dog really clear feedback. And before I get into the shoe obsession, the one other thing that happened this weekend is, a lot of people release from the contacts or from the start line without saying a release word. They just say what's next. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, I know very high level competitors who do that, and it works out just great. But I feel like with dogs that are struggling with, contacts and start lines, if it's a stop contact, that it is a start line. They're the same issues as dog is having on the start line. If it has it at the contacts, probably has it at the start line as well. But it's the same thing. That I believe for those dogs, it really helps to have the clarity of there's one word in this universe that means release from a position I've put you in. Very clear word. So I can say any other word. I can praise, I can be like celebratory, I can do whatever I want, but there's only this one word that means release from a position I put you in. And for a dog like Echo, we did that with the 3 marks, and she was just all focused, all ears, in the perfect, calm, alert, ready state for working. It was just phenomenal. So if you're having trouble with stop contacts and start lines at trials or, inconsistent, definitely consider having a word that only means release from a position I put you in. So you wouldn't say, like, if your dog is just milling around in the yard, you wouldn't say your release word to come to you. Just say, come, because the dog isn't in a position. But if you've asked your dog for a sit, and then at that point, yes, there's a release word. And for people who think, I don't have enough time, my dog is so fast. Well, you do have enough time because your dog's not going to be breaking. So what's making you feel like you don't have enough time is your dog is actually self-releasing when you're thinking about saying your break, your, whatever comes next word. So that is one little side note I wanted to make. And regarding Bluebell's shoe and foot obsession, that's the expression of something that happens before that. So Charlotte, I challenge you to notice the subtle whatevers they are, that shift in mindset that's happening, and develop a different, outcome. Like, don't let her go down that behavioral chain, because the more she does it, the more she's going to do it. So notice the thing that happens before the thing, and then work on that. And do let us all know what the thing before the thing was, because I'm sure it's going to be really interesting. And by the way, my dogs watch me put my shoes on, but I don't consider it a fetish. They just means they know that I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm getting ready to leave the house. Anything, the shoes are always a good sign that we're going to do something fun. So I think I covered everything, and I don't know if that I'm going to be available on Thursday, because I am playing it day by day. I need to take a day off and actually nap and read a book and all of that. That I've been going on this relaxing vacation like crazy. And after a trial, you do need a day off. So I'm going to try to have a chill day. So I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday yet, but I appreciate everybody who was able to make it here today. And Charlotte, how do you get it? That came in well after whatever I said. So ask that question under the next Q&A heading, and I will answer. But, like this lesson I did today, when she was asking me, well, when do I give food, or when do I give the toy? And if you plan in advance, it's fine to have a plan based on what you think your dog is going to do, but then you have to be willing to change your plan. If the dog does something remarkably better than average, before you were going to give the food fun toy reward or icing on the cake reward. And that happens as a result of just being so used to observing your dog and prioritizing that over training the external behavior. It's going to give you more spontaneity, and you're going to be more authentic because you're going to be so fully present, right? You have to be present to be able to reward when your dog deserves a reward versus planning the reward and doing it then. So it really helps you become a more present trainer. So Charlotte's saying, how do you get it? How do you get food being given gently? Well, you go back to module unit 1. You give food in your kitchen like you give food, like a little piece of food to your dog, like you do, like, I want to give you this. And if your dog is grabbing food in that context, that's where you work on it. If your dog is taking food gently there, but as soon as you're out in the yard, your dog starts being different about it, notice a slight mental shift in the right direction, which is going to happen because your dog is going to notice a mental shift in you that is observing your dog. And it's exactly what I've been talking about. It doesn't matter what the external expression is. What you're doing is you're connecting mental, emotional. You're recognizing where your dog is. So if they're taking food hard, when you connect with your dog mentally and emotionally, you're going to see that mental state in your dog. And you're going to intuitively respond to that. You're going to meet your dog where your dog is. So if the dog is grabbing food, my tendency, my hand is, going to be with the food, but it's going to be in such a way that the dog, isn't going to be able to grab it. I'm not doing it's your choice thing. I don't want the dog to move away from the food or anything, but I'm going to be then observing my dog as my hand's coming down. And my hand is not going to go to my dog's mouth if my dog is in this mindset that is not, I'm giving food, for you, to, accept, versus grab and take. So, the giving food thing is really, really simple, but profound. And one of the great things about giving food in training settings for those dogs that are really polite in life is, they really do show their, impatience, their, wanting to take their, higher arousal and all that. So as you never stop learning, right? And never stop giving food intentionally, which means giving food consciously. So you're saying they're sharks. Okay, they're your external expressions. So I would say terriers are more shark-like than border collies. But since I've been giving food consciously through, with Ocean, like consistently consciously, with Lil, she's gone from shark mouth to as gentle as a border collie. And we're talking at the trial site, before the ring, after the ring. She is taking like hot dog and cheese so politely. So your dogs are not special cases. They're taking food like sharks because you are not observing, connecting with compassion, and helping them be in the mental and emotional state that is, I'll call it appropriate for this giving and receiving of life-sustaining food. And I'm guessing you work both your dogs a lot all the time together. All the time, or a lot, either one. I think things would be easier for you is if you have one dog, even in a downstay, 10 feet away, and you work with one dog on the giving food, and then you walk over, you leave that one in the downstay, and you go work some reps with the other dog, and just keep going back and forth. Because this is really important stuff. It sounds like, let's get to the meaty stuff. This is it. And these simple actions make it easy. It's training the people. We are learning to be more present. We're learning to connect with our dogs emotionally and mentally. This is what Ocean is. And at first I thought it was all about the dogs learning to connect with us mentally and emotionally. But the longer I do this, the more I realize, no. As soon as we connect mentally and emotionally, they connect back. They sense whether we are connected or if we're all like, I'm trying to memorize the course, I'm staring ahead and, at the start line instead of being with the dog. They sense our disconnection. So so if you, Charlotte, if they are sharks, you have it in you to change that, and it will change everything. It'll change everything in your training. A lot of these training problems, this is whack the mole. If your dogs are sharks about giving food, all these other things, whether it's, shady barking at you and, whatever, all those they're manifestations of the same thing. So might as well work on it in the most simple way. And what you're doing is you're training yourself to come back again and again and again. Do I praise when it's gentle? Absolutely. When I'm giving food, I'm talking to my dogs. This is not training. And actually none of Ocean is training. It's like about taking everything we know about dog training, and you do need to know about how learning happens. So you do need to understand primary reinforcers and secondary and blah, blah, blah. But most of us in here do know that. So it's time to put that on the back burner and put on the front burner authentic communication. So I am always talking to my dogs when I'm giving food. If I'm not talking to them verbally, I'm talking to them emotionally with my eyes and my smile and my expression. So, I think perhaps what you're thinking about with this food stuff is that you're thinking about the outcome, that your dog should be, like you need to get your dogs to take food gently because they need to take food gently, versus going, this is all the same thing. That it is about connection and, I can't say it any more times because I'm going to bore myself. I'm sure I've bored a few of you by saying as many times as I had. So mental emotional connection, this is like meditation with your dog. And just like in meditation, you don't stay fully focused on the breath. You just keep coming back, coming back, coming back. It's a lot easier to come back to focusing on your dog than it is to come back to focusing on your breath when meditating, because dog's a lot easier to catch our attention. So on that note, I have to drink more water. I'm like so parched, and it's like zero humidity here. It's unbelievably dry. So I will post when the next Q&A is, and I'll put up another heading. And I hope that you guys are all really considering some of this stuff. I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years. And the more I dig in with all of you guys, the deeper this goes for me. I mean, I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper with my dogs and really understanding the core of what we're doing here. We are transforming our lives, and our dogs are then responding that we are present. They're going, oh, that person's present at a whole new level. How fun this is for me. They're finally seeing me. They're finally responding to all the stuff I've been saying. It's like, this is what's really happening here. So I think I'm done, and I think I need to take a little nap, and then I have to go back out, and I'm going to end with this glorious scenery again. So before I head out, this is my friend's paintings again of the Southwest. Is that showing up? Oh gosh, is this showing up? I don't know. I'm just going to have to do this without looking, but isn't that beautiful? I hope you all can see that. And this is just one direction. This view goes all the way around. So anyway, everybody have a great day, and see you all soon. Okay, bye.